One of the things I used to do well, I still do when I travel, is when I first get to a community, I would watch their local TV, their Shaw cable or their Rogers cable, and see because you always get all the local stuff on that, right? What are the issues in this community? And then when I meet with people, I talk about that stuff because I wanted to show I actually knew what was going on in their community, what are their issues, and then talk about how can you participate in that if that's a real concern for your community. What's a way you can participate in that? Like, can you join usually there is some sort of think tank of some sort around solution finding for that. So get involved in that. It's not about disability. It's about the community and improving the community. So it could be anything from, there was one of the communities up north I worked in, there's an issue around lack of housing. And so big issue for people with disabilities too, but it doesn't have to be a disability related issue. It's an issue for people in that community. And people got involved in the looking at how do you build affordable housing and how do we create more housing and those sorts of things and what can we do for emergency housing, and they just became part of the committees that were looking at that stuff. And it wasn't about disability, but their involvement raised the awareness of it being an issue, not just for seniors or people that were First Nations or people that were new Canadians. It's an issue for everybody, and they had something to contribute to the conversation. My husband worked in the school system for years, and one of his concerns was in our community, it's so funny because it's a small community, but the inner city, as they called it, was with some of the street-involved youth and how they were actually being recruited by drug dealers and stuff. And it was a very big concern because they were young people. Like some of them were still in elementary school that were being recruited. And when my husband started talking about it with local social workers, they're saying, yeah, it's an issue for us. And so it was him and a couple of the workers from his school system that decided to do that, convene a meeting. And he included people with disabilities in that. But those are the kinds of things that, for me, it's just logical that you look at this biggest spread as possible. So they ended up having the police involved and a couple of social workers and people from the school and people for representing different poverty groups, and all of them convened to look at this issue, like what's the issue and how do we as a collective support it. And so that was just a guy from a school going, yeah, this is a concerning issue. So I think anybody can convene a group if you really understand that there's an issue there and you want to help solve it. So there's no reason why you can't be the catalyst to get it going.
Are you aware of, or can you think of examples of things that a community council could suggest as a way to bring people together to celebrate community?
I think there's all kinds of stuff you could look at. I'm stealing an idea from my husband here, but one of the things he talks about is a gratitude day. I mean, everybody can feel grateful about something that's gone on in their community. There could be, and just acknowledging those people. So a day where cross spectrum, if there's just something that happened for you that changed your life in some way, that somebody just reached out to you in a way that made a difference, and have a day where we just say we're thankful. We really appreciate people doing that. And that could be across everything. I mean, that's not limited by labels. And that's something that I thought was a really interesting idea when he started talking about doing something like that. Okay, well, another one I can think of is, and again, these are just things that I've been involved in. For a couple of years here in Langley, we did something called Food Bank Tuesday, and it was getting musicians together at a local coffee house, and people could come and they're great musicians. They could come and listen to the music, and all you have to do is bring some non-perishable goods. Or if you want to make a donation, you could do a donation too. It was whatever. And we actually ended up having, because a lot of it we broadened it from just music to people could read their poetry. And it was welcoming to everybody. So we had some people with disabilities that came and read their poetry or sang a song or did something. So it was everybody in the community. We had people from minority groups that were coming and doing stuff. And also the audience was very broad as well, and made sure that everybody felt like they were making a contribution and they're welcome, whether they were the audience or the performers, that everybody was valued in that process. And there were actually quite a number of people with disabilities that were involved in that. So, I mean, doing something like that, like getting an event around the food bank or some cause in your community that you see benefits lots of people. And that was organic, almost how it started. It was just a couple of people getting together going, we need to do something for our local food bank. So those are the kinds of things I think as a community council, you could certainly bring people together and look at, who do you know who might be willing to participate in something different that's going to raise an awareness about an issue. It doesn't have to be disability related, but that our community would benefit from as well as the broader community. I mean, I think that it's one of the things I'd say to people is that what are your passions outside of supporting people with disabilities? I mean, especially with a lot of the community councils, the reason people are there is because they've got a relative or they are a person with a disability or they work for an agency. So you're there because you have a passion for what you're doing. But you have other passions too. Like my life isn't totally about disability. It's the other passions I have that are the places I connect into community, and then will often bring something together that includes disability, and it's not like let's focus on the fact that this is a person with a disability. Let's focus on the activity we're doing, and then make sure we welcome everybody into that activity, so it's not being exclusionary in any way. And that also includes people with disabilities. So I think the advice I'd give is figure out something that is a passion or an interest for you, and then how do you include everybody in that?